Hare Krishna. Welcome to this episode of Harināma Cintāmaṇi. So today we'll be looking at chapter 7 of this book, which is the offense of criticizing Vedic scriptures or blaspheming them. So in this session we will see why criticizing or blaspheming or disrespecting Vedic scriptures is an offense to the holy name, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So we will say our Mangalacharan prayers and invoke the blessings of the Parampara, Srila Prabhupada and the entire disciplic succession, and then we will begin studying this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome to this chapter 7 of Harināma Cintāmaṇi, and this is about the offense of blaspheming Vedic scriptures. So let us see why it is an offense to the holy name. Jaya Jaya Gadai Gauranga Nityananda Jaya Sitapati Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Haridas spoke, Lord, the fourth offense is criticism of scripture. This offense will also obstruct one's bhakti. Scripture means the four Vedas, the Upanishads and the Puranas. Having emanated from the breathing of Krishna, they constitute perfect knowledge and authority. So this is first thing. So establishing the position of Vedas, not only Vedas, the entire Vedic literature, because they are coming from the breathing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Krit, Krishna is the compiler of the entire Vedanta philosophy. So therefore it is perfect. So when we doubt in anything, so if we doubt a thesis of somebody, that's rational, because we cannot expect any conditioned soul to put forward a thesis which is perfect, because he is defective. So there, doubt is valid. It's valid to have a doubt in anything that a conditioned soul says. But here, Haridas Thakur is establishing that the scriptures are not subject to our opinion. They are always perfect, since they are coming from the breathing of Krishna. They constitute perfect knowledge and authority. Particularly in spiritual matters, there must be these must be referred to as the final proof. Shabda Praman, Shabda Brahma. Because the material senses of man, characterized by the four faults of Karna Patav, limited perception, Brahma, illusion, Vipralipsa, desire to report something other than what is perceived, and Pramada, inattention of the senses, cannot possibly perceive anything beyond the material level of unconscious matter, the spiritual realm would be unapproachable without the aid of Krishna. Now, right away, these words, Karna Patav, Brahma, Vipralipsa and Pramada, the spelling is not accurate here. Actually, in this book, so many spellings are not accurate. So anyway, the point here is, the material senses of man has four faults, that is Brahma, Pramad, Vipralipsa, Karna Patav. So limited perception, illusion, cheating propensity, that means desire to report something other than what is perceived, and Pramada, inattention of the senses. Or the tendency to make mistakes. So now, Pramada, inattention, it is said here. Pramatta is also called sometimes inattention. But actually, Pramatta also means mad. But you may think, why the inattention and mad? So actually, from pure spiritual point of view, inattention in Krishna consciousness is actually madness. Because there is that verse, what is that? In the 2.9.36. Yan muhurtam kshanam vapi Vāsudevam na chintayet. Yes, this is the one. Vishnu Puran. Sahanistan mahachidram samohah sacha vibhramaha yan muhurtam kshanam vapi Vāsudevam na chintayet. If even for a moment remembrance of Vāsudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is missed, that is the greatest loss, that is the greatest illusion, and that is the greatest anomaly. So, a completely spiritual person who is in complete devotional service to Krishna, he finds it mad, he finds it as madness to be inattentive to Krishna consciousness, to not be conscious of Krishna. That's why another word for a devotee is avyartha kalatvam. One of the qualities of devotee is that he does not like to waste time. Now, what does that waste time means? Not remembering Krishna is wastage of time. So when we have these four defects, we become essentially disqualified to come up with any accurate perception of anything. So, and with this, we cannot possibly perceive anything beyond the material level of unconscious matter. We can only perceive dead matter, unconscious matter. We cannot even see the soul, let alone soul. We can't even see the mind, which is still material. We know it is there by our inference, but we cannot see it, we cannot perceive it. So how much more the soul is even finer than the intelligence. Indriyani paranyahur indriyabhyah param manah manasastu parabuddhir yo buddheh paratastu saha. Chapter 3, text 42, Bhagavad Gita. So the soul is even finer than the intelligence. And if intelligence and mind we cannot see, air we cannot see, how are we going to see the soul with these senses? So our senses fall short, extremely short, in understanding anything of the spirit, of the transcendence. Therefore it is said the spiritual realm would be unapproachable without the aid of Krishna. Therefore Krishna has given the four Vedas which are beyond the four faults of the senses, and by these alone can man progress towards the spiritual goal. Vedas are another name for Vedas is Apaurusheya. Apaurusheya means it is not done by any Purusha of this material world or any person of this material world. What are the contents of the scriptures? The wise man will understand that karma and jnana are secondary and worthless as independent processes, and that the path of bhakti is the essence. In short, Haridas Thakur is coming straight to the point. So, yes, the scriptures have karma, jnana and bhakti, karma kanda, jnana kanda and upasana kanda. But karma and jnana are secondary, they are not independent processes, and they are worthless without bhakti. So when they are mixed with bhakti, then there is actual profit. Karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti. And the profit is because of the bhakti portion of it, not the karma portion of it or jnana portion of it. And in karma portion of it, like the yajnik process, it is said that, you do this yajna and then you go to the heavenly planets and you get this opulence, this comfort, whatever. Now, the promises mentioned in those statements, phalashruti, the phalashrutis, the fruitive rewards, those are actually not the real rewards. Those are just inducements so that we can take the real medicine, which is the sacrifice to Vishnu. To do any sacrifice, to perform any sacrifice towards the demigod, we have to sacrifice for the pleasure of Vishnu and then offer the share of that sacrifice to the demigod. So that is the process in worshipping the demigods. So we cannot worship them independent of Krishna. I think there is some kind of lagging going on now. I'm sorry about that, but I can't do much about it, looks like. Let me see. Let me quit some programs before it gets... Wow. Quickly became very bad. Just a second. Okay, it's quite a load on the computer right now. I'm just trying to see if I can do something about it. Okay, let's try. It's a bit, it's fine. I don't see it as fine. I don't know. I feel there is a big problem here. It looks like a huge problem today. Anyway, let me know how you are experiencing it. For me, it's like, it looks horrible. I hope it can sort itself out. Okay, let's continue. So the wise man will understand that karma and jnana are secondary and worthless as independent processes, and that the path of bhakti is the essence. The Vedas stand as the authoritative guide and reference, pramana, and they prove 9 different topics which may be classified into sambandha, abhidheya and prayojana. So there is a very there is an actual number, 9 different topics. So what are they? They will be explained. So basically the Vedas, they explain the Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. Okay, no significant lag. I hope it subsides. It is subsiding a bit now. Let's see. So, Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. Now, by these 10 principles, the Vedic authority and the 9 topics which the Vedas prove, ignorance is destroyed and transcendental knowledge is revealed. So, let's again recap that statement. So, there are the Vedic, here it is said, the Vedas are the authoritative guide and reference for everything, and they prove 9 different topics which may be classified into Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana as broad categories. By these 10 principles, the Vedic authority, this is first principle, and the 9 different topics which the Vedas prove, altogether 10, ignorance is destroyed and transcendental knowledge is revealed. Okay, now it looks like perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Now, these 9 principles may be summarized as follows. There is one Supreme Lord Vishnu. You see, this is the first statement. Among Hindus, they think that, many gods, that is the hallmark of Hinduism. But here you see the first thing that is mentioned in the Vedas is there is one Supreme Lord Vishnu. 2. The Lord is possessor of all energies. 3. Krishna is the fountainhead of all rasas and is situated in his dhama, where he eternally gives joy to the jivas. So Krishna is the fountainhead of all rasas, all mellows, loving mellows, and he is situated in his dhama, where he eternally gives joy to the jivas. Now this is all very unique only to Krishna. There is no one else who has his own eternal dhama and he gives eternally joy to the jivas. No, the demigods may give temporary material happiness, but the demigods, their benedictions and their so-called devotees, everything will be finished. Antavattu phalam tesham. But Krishna is different. The jivas are particles of the Lord, unlimited in number, infinitesimal in size, but conscious. So the first 3 points are establishing the position of Krishna. Then the 4th point onwards now is our position as jivas, and because we have no independent existence, our existence is explained in terms of our dependence of Krishna. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. He is the one supreme eternal conscious living entity who is maintaining all other eternal conscious infinitesimal living entities like us. 5. Some jivas are eternally bound in the material universe, being attracted by illusory pleasure. 6. Some jivas are eternally liberated and engaged in worshipping Krishna. They reside with him as associates in the spiritual sky and experience prema. So jivas, there are Nityabadha and Nitya Mukta or Nitya Siddha. So the Nitya Siddhas are of course again subdivided into these 5 relationships with Krishna. What is that? Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Madhurya. That means passive, active as servitude, friendship, parental and conjugal love towards Krishna. So that is in the spiritual, and even there are so many subdivisions. Even for example Madhurya Ras, there are Swakiya Madhurya and Parakiya Madhurya. That means as one's husband, to love Krishna as one's husband, and Parakiya is to love him as a paramour. And among the paramour type of lovers, the gopis, there are so many subdivisions. There are Priyanarma Sakhis who are very close. First of all, there is Radharani. And then there are Priyanarma Sakhis who are very close confidants. And then there are assistant gopis. And there are Manjaris. So many, subdivisions. And that is in the liberated stage. In the conditioned stage, there are 8.4 million species. And there are demigods, human beings and subhumans. So that is again a distinction, and everywhere there is so much variety. So many subdivisions in each of these categories. But they're all Jivas only. They're all, infinitesimal living entities. So some are eternally bound, some are eternally liberated. 7. Krishna exists with his energies, the material energy, Jīva energy and spiritual energy, in a state of simultaneous identity and differentiation, Achinta Bheda Bheda, permeating all yet remaining aloof, which is only possible by his inconceivable power, Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. So Krishna is described in the first 3 points. The next 3 points, the Jivas are explained. The 7th point, Krishna and the Jivas and the spiritual material energy and how everything is existing, how Krishna is existing with all his energies in simultaneous identity and differentiation, oneness and difference, permeating all. So his existence is permeating everything, yet he is remaining aloof from everything, which is only possible by his inconceivable power. Now, all until 7th point is the Sambandha Jnana, how we are existing. Now 8th, the process specifically mentioned, Abhidheya for the Jīva, in the Vedas is the 9-fold process of devotional service divided into Vaidhi and Raga Bhakti. Of the 9 processes, the hearing and chanting of the holy name are principal means. That is the reason the chanting of Om is glorified in the Vedas. Now, Abhidheya is actually the devotional service process, how to attain Krishna. But for those who are not ready for Abhidheya, there is a preparatory stage, which is the Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda sections, to tame their absolute rebelliousness towards Krishna, since they wanted to enjoy. All right, you enjoy, but do it in the yajna process. Sahayajñah prajah srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadhvam meshavostrishta kamadhuk ishtan bhogan hivo deva dasante yajna bhavitah tairdattan apradayabhyo yobhunktes tena evasah. So in the 3rd chapter, these things are mentioned, the yajna process. So these are mentioned so that since we have a desire to be happy in this material world, the Lord actually mercifully gives us the process by which we can be happy. And we cannot be happy without the mercy of Krishna. So the whole process is to be happy with the mercy of Krishna. But since we are averse to Krishna in the material world, so Krishna has created proxies, the demigods, who are his parts and parcels. So the rebellious souls of this condition, this material world, they are reluctant to worship Krishna. So Krishna says, alright, fine, you don't worship me, but you worship these different bestowers of benedictions. But who are they? They are my parts and parcels. You don't need to know that, you just worship them for a start. So that's how Karma Kanda starts. But you cannot worship the demigods independently of Krishna. The yajna process doesn't allow that. So the demigods are always offered the share of sacrifice to Vishnu. So to worship them, you have to worship Vishnu, even at least officially. You have to recognize Vishnu's superiority. And that is the real benefit of this Karma Kanda, not those material rewards. And one who eventually understands that after many millions of births of doing karma, then he will realize, I shouldn't be actually seeking any position in this material world. So then he goes to Jnana Kanda, or then he tries to liberate himself from this material world. And then finally, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vāsudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabhaha. After cultivating jnana for many millions of lifetimes, then finally he comes to the point of, yes, I need to surrender to Krishna. Let me surrender. So this is the process. And once he comes to surrender to Krishna, then bhakti starts. Then these 9 processes start. So Abhidheya starts at that point. So until then there is a preparatory stage of Abhidheya. It's not considered full Abhidheya, full Bhakti Marga. So these performers of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, they don't even have sufficient knowledge of Sambandha, what to speak of Abhidheya. But somehow or other they are made to do some pious activities by karma and jnana so that finally they can come to this. But bhakti is the real path. And without this, even if they come until the path of jnana, if they don't come to bhakti, it's a waste of time. So now here, what is said in this point, in this Abhidheya process, that is the reason the chanting of Om is glorified in the Vedas. Pranavah sarva vedeshu, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.8. I am the Om in all the Vedic mantras. So Krishna and his representation, sound representation, are non-different. So it is coming to the point of chanting. So the Vedic scriptures, because denouncing them or blaspheming them is an offense to the holy name. Why? Because they ultimately come to the point of glorifying the holy name, which is non-different. See, Sambandha, Krishna is so powerful and we are his part and parcel, fine. How to go about, going back to Krishna. So Krishna is that powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he makes himself available in the form of his holy name. And therefore the chanting of the holy name is the highest process. And because the Vedas are leading everyone to the point of chanting, which is the ultimate goal of the Vedas, therefore the Vedic scriptures should not be blasphemed. So that is the point that is being made. Ninth, now this is Prayojana. The final goal or constitutional platform, Prayojana of the Jivas, is the activity of pure bhakti, prema. So Abhidheya is also the path of bhakti, which is Vaidhi and Raga bhakti. Which is, even Raga bhakti, although it is spontaneous, it is still considered not yet Prayojana. It's still Abhidheya. It's Namabhas, but it's not yet Shuddhanam. So when the bhakti, prema, comes, bhava and then prema. Until bhava, it is still Abhidheya. When one comes to prema stage, one comes to bhakti, actual Prayojana stage. At that stage, he still performs the same activities, the ninefold activities, but this time in pure Krishna consciousness. This is attained by the mercy of Krishna, Prayojana. See, it is not by our endeavor that we achieve these results. It is by the mercy of Krishna. And that mercy, of course, we will get when we endeavor to satisfy Krishna. So what is our endeavor in devotional service? To satisfy Krishna. And by satisfaction of Krishna, Krishna will bestow us more service. And love of Godhead. And we can perform our service in love of Godhead, which is the ultimate stage. So now, this in the eighth point, it is said that the chanting of the Om is glorified in all the Vedic literatures. So there is a statement in the Mukundamala Stotra, Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya Mantram. Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya Mantram. So this is the verse, 31st verse of the Mukundamala Stotra. Shatruchhedaika mantram Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya Mantram Samsarochheda Mantram Samuchita Tamasaha Sangha Niryana Mantram Sarvaishwaryaika Mantram Vyasana Bhujaga Sandashta Santrana Mantram Jihve Shri Krishna Mantram Japa Japa Satatam Janma Saphalya Mantram. O tongue, please constantly chant the mantra composed of Sri Krishna's names. This is the only mantra for destroying all enemies, the mantra worshipped by every word of the Upanishads, the mantra that uproots samsara, the mantra that drives away all the darkness of ignorance, the mantra for attaining infinite opulence, the mantra for curing those bitten by the poisonous snake of worldly distress, and the mantra for making one's birth in this life successful. Japa Japa Satatam, constantly chant. So we can see, if you take the words of Ishopanishad, Let's see, you see, there is a mantra. The last one, you see. Agnenaya supatharaye asman vishvani devai vayunani vidvan yuyodhyasmad juhuranameno bhuyishtham te nama uktim vidhema. Nama uktim, words of obeisance. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress. So, these words of obeisance, Namaha Uktim, is the holy name. By chanting Hare Krishna, we are actually offering our obeisances to Krishna and requesting him the wealth of service. So, every Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya Mantram. So, the holy name is worshipped in all the Upanishads. Even in the Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. And also in the 10th chapter, 25th verse. Yajnanam Japayajñosmi. The chanting of the holy name, Japayajna, is the highest yajna of all yajnas. So, even Arjuna also says in the 11th chapter, 36th verse, what is that? Prakirtya. Loka Harshas. Prakirtya. What is that? He glorifies. Arjuna Uvacha. Sthane Hrishikesha Tava Prakirtya. Jagat Prahrishyatyανurajyate cha. Rakshamsi bhitani dishodravanti. Sarve namasyanti cha siddha sangha. Prakirtya, by the glories. Jagat praharishyati. The entire world or universe is rejoicing. So, Arjuna said, O master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name. And thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. So here also Arjuna summarizes the entire process. See, the world becomes joyful by chanting your name, and the perfected beings, they offer their homage to you, they always chant your name. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dhrida namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. And the demons who don't do this, they are always afraid. The demons are afraid. The whole world, everybody is afraid right now. War or disease or anything. It's dukhalayam ashashvatam. A place of non-permanence and misery. So, bhayam dvitiya bhiniveshatah syad ishad apetasya viparyayo smritihi tanmayayato buddha abhajetam bhaktyaiga yesham gurudevatatma. So 11 to 37, you can see every living entity is in fear. That's why when we chant, then we get out of the fear, because fear itself fears the holy name. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency for illusion called Māyā. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and as his very life and soul. So fear arises when we turn away from Krishna. So demons are always not chanting, they are always away from Krishna, and they are always afraid. And the devotees, they feel joyful. So Arjuna is summarizing that in this world, you can only be happy when you are chanting the holy name, when you are connected with Krishna, and you can easily connect yourself with Krishna by chanting the holy name and hearing about him. So Shravanam Kirtanam is especially stressed in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and especially by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this Kali Yuga especially, of all the 9 types of devotional service, Shravanam and Kirtanam are the highest. So when there is Kirtanam, of course there is Shravanam. It goes hand in hand. If I am doing Kirtan, then I am hearing also, the others are hearing. Or if I am talking about Krishna, there are others hearing. Or at least I am hearing myself, even if nobody is there. So when speaking is there is automatically you're listening also, right? So in this way, the chanting of the holy name is glorified by all. Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya Mantram. Then that essence is taken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and given it to the common man. Okay, all the Vedas are glorifying the holy name. Now these people have no time or intelligence to understand the Vedas. Let me just give the holy name. The thing, the commodity that is most glorified in the Vedas, Vedic literature, let me just give it freely to these people. Whether they understand or not, just take the holy name. Let them take the holy name. And that's why Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratveshe Namaha. So ultimately all Vedic literature, in fact there is one nice, there was a conversation of Prabhupada with his disciples. He asked, why am I writing all these books? Then all the devotees were explaining, you want to explain the Sambandha Gyan, and you want to, glorify Krishna, you want to save us, by giving all the things about knowledge about Krishna. He said, yes, but my main mission in writing all these things is to make you chant Hare Krishna. So all the Vedas are meant to bring us to the point of chanting. And therefore the Vedas are important, and therefore offending them is offending the holy name, because they are the means to convince us to take to the holy name. Although it appears that not all parts of the Vedas are actually glorifying the name, but it's all in that direction only, according to the mode of nature that a practitioner is in. But everything is meant towards that direction. So we should never misunderstand that the Vedas are saying something else. No. These are the basic principles for the guidance of the Jivas, which are denoted by the Vedas. Basic principles of guidance denoted by the Vedas for the Jivas. So if one criticizes the Vedas, that is an offense to the holy name. Such a person is a low rascal. In the history of India, there are 6 personalities who invented theories. And by their inventions, they simply brought themselves to no good end. Jaimini, though claiming to follow the Vedas, does not recognize the Supreme Lord and recommends Karmakanda, activity independent of worship of God, Karma Mimamsa philosophy. So each of these, this is called Shad Darshan, atheistic philosophies. 6 proponents, and then their philosophies. So Karma Mimamsa philosophy actually here. Activity independent of the worship of God. By concoction, Kapila thinks that the Lord is imperfect and recommends the process of yoga, Sankhya Yoga, without understanding its goal. Taking shelter of the philosophy that everything is illusion, the Jains, preach against the Vedas. The atheist Charvak had no respect for the Vedic knowledge, and similarly the Buddhist Gautama does not worship the Lord, but instead thinks in terms of human beings. All these philosophies are against the Vedas, sometimes directly and sometimes in a hidden way. Therefore, the wise man, knowing that belief in these philosophies makes one an offender, completely avoids them. So we should not resort to taking shelter of any of these philosophies. And if we do, we are also blaspheming the Vedas. Now, Charvak Muni is mentioned here. Charvak Muni's thing is just be a materialist and just, eat, be merry and enjoy and then die, because you just live only once. And the whole world is in that mood. And if we indirectly or unconsciously imbibe such a mentality because of too much association with materialists, either as friends or colleagues or whatever, family members, or nowadays social media, and if we get influenced by the so-called influencers, that life is only one, and be attracted to what they are doing, we're essentially actually following Charvakmuni. So we are blaspheming the Vedas. So we have to get out of this mentality of anything other than Krishna Bhakti. So to mold our lives so that we understand that Krishna consciousness is the only substance in this material world and there is nothing else that is worth our attention. Of course, it is not that we are blind to whatever is happening. We know what's happening and we should be aware and then offer solution how Krishna consciousness can save the situation. Like now, war is going on. It's not that, I'll just chant Hare Krishna, I don't care that the war is going on or whatever. No, we should know that there is something happening and we should know how, demoniac tendency is, exhibiting itself in this world. And we can see through the statements of Bhagavad Gita how this is all happening. So we have to, if you remember, we have gone through a few times, not in extensive detail, but the mention of it. I think in the 11th canto, that the 24 gurus of a spiritual candidate, right? I think, let me see. Eleven 7 33 through 35. Is this the one? Yeah. So you see, O king, I have taken shelter of 24 gurus who are the following: the earth, the air, sky, water, fire, moon, sun, pigeon, python, sea, moth, honeybee, elephant, honey thief, deer, fish, prostitute, pingala, kurara, bird, child, young girl, arrow maker, serpent, spider and wasp. My dear king, by studying their activities, I have learned the science of the self. By studying their activities, you see, studying their activities means he has observed animals. What is this? Yeah, what python and deer and fish? What is he studying? Instead of studying Vedas, what is he doing? So, so there is a nice explanation of this. I hope I can. I forgot again that verse number which explains all. I think 11.9 somewhere, where there is a commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jīva Gosvāmī, and who is that? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I guess. They are explaining, especially Jīva Gosvāmī explains. Okay, let's. One spiritual master, or just give me a second here. Yes, 11.9.31. Nahi ekasmad guror jnanam susthiram syat supushkalam brahmaitad advitiyam vaigiyate bahudharshibhihi. Although the absolute truth is one without a second, the sages have described him in many different ways. Therefore, one may not be able to acquire very firm or complete understanding from one spiritual master. Now, this is a bit, controversial point. Hey, that means you need many spiritual masters. But the rule of the Vedas is to only accept one spiritual master, Diksha Guru, and many Shiksha Gurus. But what is this? We cannot hear from, get complete knowledge from one spiritual master. So, Sridhar Swami actually. Sridhar Swami, Jīva Gosvāmī and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comment on this important point. It's a little bit long purport. And here, Jīva Gosvāmī. Actually, Jīva Gosvāmī comments as follows on this verse. Since it is commonly understood that one is to accept a single spiritual master, Why is it recommended that one learn from many so-called spiritual masters appearing in the forms of ordinary material objects, like those 24 gurus, you see? How can a bird be a guru and how can a prostitute be a guru? What are you talking about? So the explanation is that one's worshipable spiritual master will instruct one in many departments of knowledge by giving lessons gleaned from ordinary objects. As recommended by the Brahmana Avadhuta, one can strengthen the teachings received from one's acharya and avoid transgressing his orders by observing ordinary things in nature. One should not mechanically receive the teachings of one's guru. The disciple should be thoughtful and with his own intelligence realize and practice what he has heard from his spiritual master by observing the world around him. In this sense, one may accept many gurus, though not those who preach against the knowledge received from the bona fide spiritual master. In other words, one should not hear from persons like the atheist Kapila. But we can see from every aspect, like even from those who are atheists, we can see how it is a great hindrance. Now, for example, now there is a war going on in Europe. Now, somebody thought that, okay, these are my enemies, I will kill him and, I will establish my superiority. Now, these things are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, right? The demoniac, how they think. So, this is how we connect everything. 13 through 15. Idam adyamaya alabdham imam prapsya manoratham idam asti idam api me bhavishyati punardhanam asau maya hatah shatrur hanishye chaparanapi ishvaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi adhyo bhijanavaanasmi konyosti sadrisho maya yakshye dasyami modishya iti ajnana vimohitah. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy and I have killed him and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the lord of everything, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices, I shall give some charity and then I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. And if you see their activity, what kind of activity? It's, let's say, very destructive. Moodha grahenatmano yad pidaya kriyate tapah parasyotsādanārtham vā tattāmasamudāhritam. Penance performed out of foolishness with self-torture or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. And if we go here, asatyam apratishthante jagadahuranishwaram aparaspara sambhutam kimanyat kamahaitukam. They say that this world is unreal with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Now next one. Etam drishtim avashtabhya nashtatmano alpabuddhayah prabhavantyugra karmanah kshayaya jagato hitah. Kshayaya, for the destruction of the world and unbeneficial activities. Ugra karmanah, engaged in painful activities. Following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Now we have heard activities of Hiranyakashipu, activities of Ravana in the past. Now you see, in the present also things are going on. Sometimes in a more visible way, sometimes in a more subtle way. So we need to identify these things from the scriptures. We should be sharp, alert. And whatever we see, we should connect with scriptures. So what the explanation of Jīva Gosvāmī is that when we observe the world, we observe it through the eyes of the scriptures, Shastra Chakshu. Like if in the beginning of the Back to Godhead magazine by Srila Prabhupada in 1944 when he started. So at that time there was World War going on, Second World War. And Prabhupada was writing on the political situation of the world and how Krishna consciousness can actually, be the perfect solution. And you can find this all over Srila Prabhupada's purports. So it is not that we are blind to the political scene or to the, the world, what is happening in this world. If we lock ourselves up in the Himalayas and not care, then that is not selflessness. That is not actual mercy. Or that is not actual ahimsa. Ahimsa means to save the people. So, we are not interested in those politics, but people are interested. And when there is some big topic that is going on, we can always use that and point the people to this direction, to Krishna consciousness. Like for example, the scientists have been saying life comes from chemicals. And Prabhupada very strongly, went against that. Why should he be concerned with some scientists postulating some theories? He is not concerned with them. He is using that as a topic which is of interest to many people. Introduce Krishna consciousness. How that is wrong. How that is wrong. Every material conclusion ultimately is wrong. And we have to offer the alternative because people are interested in these things. So we have to show the Krishna consciousness is applicable everywhere. Whatever you are trying to learn, Krishna consciousness, you can learn it perfectly with Krishna consciousness. Whereas you do it independent of Krishna, then it's all imperfect perception. And it will lead to destructive consequences. So in this way we have to be aware and then be able to apply all these principles and enlighten people based on what is happening. So there is another verse in the Bhagavad Gita in the second chapter. Ishopanishad also says, 2:16. Na sato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate satah ubhayorapi drishtontas tvanayos tattvadarshibhih. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Study means it's not just like not paying attention. Well, paying attention and studying and seeing what is going on. Yeah. So of course we hear from Vedic literature with full faith. But then we have to observe all those things actually happening and see that the Vedic statements are always true. And that increases our conviction in the Vedic statements and increases our conviction in Krishna. There is this verse where this great saintly person was talking to Prahlad Maharaj, and he said also something interesting. Okay, before we go there, Ishopanishad, let's go to that Ishopanishad. Verse 11. Vidyam cha vidyam cha yas tad vedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritamashnute. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side, not just only learning one thing, both, can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Now that does not mean we go and study everything, go open all the books and all that. No, we in a gist we can know about all these things. If we observe a little bit, for a little while, we can understand what is going on. Of course, we should observe with a keen eye and then see how Krishna consciousness can actually offer the right solution. Like Prabhupada, he actually, addressed every single argument of the scientists who say that life comes from chemicals, for example. So, address their every single argument, study it, and study how it is wrong. And it is not just to prove them wrong and win a battle, no, but to educate people. So that verse by this saintly person to Prahlad Maharaj, see, he did not take part in family life, but he observed family life. Tatrapi dampatinam cha sukhayanyāpanuttaye karmani kurvatam drishtva nivrittosmi viparyayam. In this human form of life, a man and women unite for the sensual pleasure of sex. But by actual experience, we have observed that none of them are happy. He has observed. He has observed many dampati. Dampati means couples. Therefore, seeing the contrary results, I have stopped taking part in materialistic activities. So, in order for us to refrain from material activities and not having too much faith in them, not having too much hope in them. So we should know how they are, leading to a very miserable end. So for that we need to observe how everywhere there is actually misery. Although it is packaged as happiness, although it is marketed as happiness, it is misery. And that's Maya's business, to market misery as happiness. Krishna only gives us the real knowledge that this is Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. Maya will, make us think that this is Sukhalayam and Shashvatam. I will be Shashvat Sukha. People are trying, scientists are trying to become eternal, long life, whatever. They are trying to prolong their lifetime. If they can do it eternally, they will be most happy. That's what they want. And Maya makes them think that, let me become happy here and for a long, long time. So this is Maya's propaganda. She knows how to package absolute misery and trouble as happiness. So this is her job. So therefore, we have to understand from the Vedas how this is actually not true. We have to understand the truth behind all this. So this is the meaning. So we have to observe everything. So all these different philosophies are there, and non-Vedic philosophies. See? So if we believe in them instead of looking through the Shastra Chakshu and understanding it and strengthening our conviction in Krishna consciousness, in order to do that, if we have just seen the purport here, you see, one should not mechanically, this is Jīva Gosvāmī's recommendation here, since it is commonly understood that one is to accept a single spiritual master, why it is recommended that one learn from many so-called spiritual masters. The explanation is that one's worshipable spiritual master will instruct one in many departments of knowledge by giving lessons gleaned from ordinary objects. As recommended by the Brahmana Avadhuta, one can strengthen the teachings received from one's Acharya and avoid transgressing his orders by observing ordinary things in nature. One should not mechanically receive the teachings of one's Guru. The disciple should be thoughtful and with his own intelligence realize and practice what he has heard from his spiritual master by observing the world around him. In this sense, one may accept many gurus, though not those who are preaching against the knowledge. So now, it's not that just by observing the world we will get answers. No. That is not the thing. We have to read the Vedic scriptures given by the Guru and simultaneously observe and be observant and see how those statements are actually playing out in the real world, in the material world. So then it will only increase our conviction. And then we have to constantly read again and again to reinforce our understanding. It's not that, I will just go out and learn everything about life. No. Not independently of Krishna. With Shastra Chakshu, not without Shastra. No, I have read Bhagavad Gita, now I can look at the world for my entire life and I will see through Bhagavad Gita. No, we will forget. Because Maya is very powerful. It's not that when we observe the world we will realize things. No. Only if you are constantly in touch with the Vedic literature. Constantly. That is a key word. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nitya Yukta. So, that is essential. Every day. Then we will be in a sane condition. Otherwise, she will sweep us away. Maya will sweep us away. Prasabham manaha. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha. Indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. And then 260 and 267 also. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So we cannot control them without taking shelter of Krishna and his words. And in the 67, Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya harati prajñam vayur navam ivambhase. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. So this is danger of observing the world. Our senses, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses, can carry away a man's intelligence. Very powerful. So it's not, we just cannot okay, let me find Krishna consciousness in everything, let me just look at the whole world. No. Through the scripture. And just observe and we will understand. We don't need huge research. We can understand by what is happening. So, coming back to this offenses. So therefore, the wise man, knowing that belief in these philosophies makes one an offender, completely avoids them. One other philosophy to be avoided is that of the Māyāvādis. Their scriptures are not genuine but are distortions of the meaning of the Vedas. Actually, they are covered Buddhism and are meant to mislead the foolish people in the Kali Yuga. On the order of the Lord, Shiva appeared in a Brahmana family and became an Acharya. Then, like Jaimini, while taking authority from the Vedas, twisted the meaning to delude the world. Jaimini twisted the meaning of the Vedas to promote Karmakanda, and Shankaracharya, he twisted the meaning of the Vedas to promote Jnanakanda. But actually, the Vedas are meant for Upasana Kanda, and that too, not just the demigod worship, Krishna worship especially. But they twisted it. He took the Buddhist doctrine of illusion and tried to delude the world. By doing this, he covered the direct meaning of the Vedas and the process of bhakti. Thus, if one accepts any of these philosophies, there is no place for real bhakti. If one takes the holy name along with these philosophies, one is committing serious offense to the name. One simply brings about one's own end. If the Jīva can accept the direct meaning of the Vedas, which is the path of pure bhakti, he will be rewarded with the sweetness of prema. But if he takes indirect meaning or metaphorical interpretations as the real meaning, he cannot come to truth and dies of his offense to Krishna. The principal sound in the Vedas is Om, which is a name of Krishna, and by chanting the name one can achieve the goal of life. This name is utilized by the devotees in the Śrī Sampradaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. And also there are so many yajnik processes. And in that they chant, of course they have to chant the word Om. The Vedas state that the holy name is the spiritual form of the Lord in the material world. It is so powerful that even the faint influence of the name can bring about perfection. The purport is this: since the Vedas are teaching chanting of the pure name as the principal process, to criticize the Vedas is to criticize the name. That is offensive. The devotees, however, take shelter of the Vedas and by chanting the holy name attain the nectar of the name. The Vedas are saying, just chant the name of the Lord and by that you will receive the highest form of love and bliss. Even in the spiritual sky, the great personalities are chanting the holy name. It is unfortunate that in Kali Yuga, even so-called great personalities avoid the Supreme Personality of Krishna and his nectarian name and instead worship the illusory energy Māyādevi. By taking shelter of the Tamasic Tantra, they criticize the Vedic authority. Lustful for meat and intoxication, leading a corrupt life against dharma, these people kill themselves. They do not take the name of Krishna, nor do they get the eternal dhama of Vrindavan. Māyādevi gives the atheists worldly happiness or punishment according to their activities, but to one who serves the devotees, she gives the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Being Krishna's servant, she punishes the erring jivas and gives only illusory happiness to those who worship her. She is Vaishnavi Devi. Another name for Durga is Vaishnavi Devi. The temple is also there in the Himalayas, near Kedarnath. So she is a devotee of Krishna. Her duty is to make sure that no rascal goes to Krishna. As long as you are a rascal, you remain here with me. So she is a filter. Only if we pass all that tests and become a pure soul, then we are admitted to Krishna. Her job is to make sure that to qualify us, and if we are not qualified, to to detain us from the spiritual world and punish us until we understand that we are actually only a servant of Krishna and nothing else. So that is her service. But it is not by direct preaching, but by punishing the souls, conditioned souls. But if one worships Krishna and his name, she helps him overcome the material ocean. The same Māyā will become Yoga Māyā. She understands, oh, this person is trying. But not that, oh, he's trying, okay, let him go to the spiritual world. No. She will test. Oh, you're trying? Okay. Let me test. How far you have come. Testing is one way, The whole thing changes when we change in our consciousness. See, the police is there to ensure that there is law and order. At least, theoretically, they are supposed to do that. Now, we have seen recently that this has not been the case in some of the world events, and because governments are corrupt and things happen like that in the material world. But by definition, they are supposed to protect the people, the police, and uphold the law of the state. So similarly, now although that is their duty, they are seen to punish the criminals. So they will punish the criminal, but they will help the innocent who are wanting to be lawful citizens of the state. The police station, if I am in danger, if I go to a police station, I feel some protection. Okay, the police will do something. So, or when I see the police, when they are being robbed or something like that, or some violence is being meted out, then if the police are there, I feel comfortable. Oh, he will be punished. Okay, I will be saved. I will be protected. So that is there. But the perpetrator of the crime, he will feel absolute fear, terror, horror when he sees the police. So, same police, because of the disposition of the different kinds of people, they experience the police to be differently situated. Some people find the police favorable, some unfavorable. But actually the police is favorable to the law of the government and make sure that the law is upheld by the people. That is their actual duty. So similarly, Māyā is the police. But if we try to become actually servant of Krishna, she helps. And helps means help. We should also understand that help also sometimes means, giving the stark naked reality rather than the packaged, well packaged misery. Like sometimes life happens in this way. Like Maharaj Anga, whose son was Vena. Vena was a very demoniac person. His father was very, saintly, and the son turned out to be demoniac. And therefore, as you can see, this is also helping. So we should understand, helping does not always mean, favorably or in a. It's not just like kissing, Oh, the Māyā will kiss you on the cheek. No, sometimes, it is hard. But if we are attentive enough, we will see the real lesson. But if we are inattentive, we will be carried away by the so-called seeming punishment. So here, 4.13.39 of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So Anga's boy, son, is explained here. That boy was born partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. He became a greatly irreligious person. Now, let's see 4.13.43. प्रायणाभ्यर्चितो देवो ये प्रजागृहमेधिनः कदपत्यभृतं दुःखं येन विन्दन्ति दुर्भरम्. The king thought to himself, persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous lives so that they would not have to suffer the unbearable unhappiness caused by a bad son. Those who have no son, they are fortunate. But then he thought, then the king thought, Kadapatyam varam manye sadapatya chucham padat nirvidyeta grihan martyo yat klesha nivaha grihaha. Then the king thought, a bad son is better than a good son. Because a good son creates an attachment for home, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. Now you see, this is also Maya's way of helping to remove us from the attachment of the material world. So it looks like a hellish situation where one's own son becomes one's enemy. But if one is attentive to the real purpose of Krishna and to the real purpose of Māyā, why Krishna even employed Māyā in this service. So then if we are attentive to that knowledge, if we are constantly in touch with that knowledge, then we will know how to conduct ourselves in any situation, and we can easily see the mercy of Krishna in that situation, rather than complaining about what is this, I have been worshipping Krishna, and how can he curse me like this by giving a son who's my enemy. But then Hiranyakashipu is getting a saintly son. I am a saintly person, I am getting a demoniac son. What is happening? What is this? There is no rationale. No, there's a perfect rationale. So if we are inattentive, then we will not see the rationale. If we are attentive, we will always see the mercy of Krishna. That's why it says Suhridam sarvadehinam, Suhridam sarvabhutanam, Jnatva mam shantim richati. We have to understand that Krishna is our supreme friend, and he is not the friend only when he helps us, he is also our friend when he punishes us. That is also his help. It only doesn't look like help because it is not helping our materialistic desires, but he is really helping us in our constitutional position, to revive our constitutional position. So we should understand that whatever happens, Krishna is always doing it for our good. Although immediately it appears that it is not happening to our good or for our good. That's an illusion only. So he is always. And of course he actually comes and he leaves behind scriptures and he sends acharyas. But for those people who are not ready to take all this help, he helps by employing Māyā to beat them. Or rather, give them all the things that they want. But then they will be unhappy by that. And then one day they will question. At that time the acharyas, the Vedic literature, everything will be available. They are always available, just that because people are not ready, it is not made available to them. They themselves have made themselves disqualified. Conditioned souls make themselves disqualified to receive these things because of their enormous desires for material happiness. So, but if we question sincerely, then we will be led to the proper source of knowledge. So if one worships Krishna and his name, she helps him overcome the material ocean. So that means she will make sure all our attachments to this material world are gone. If by misfortune or accident it happens that one commits Shruti Nindana or blasphemy of scripture, one should be repentant and offer his respect to the scriptures. With attention, one should offer tulsi flowers and tulsi leaves to the Bhagavatam and the Vedas. Being the essence of the Vedas and an incarnation of Krishna, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will give unlimited mercy. Now, offering flowers and tulsi leaves is good, but reading them, if we respect them that much, we have to open and read them. No? That is the real thing, actually. Haridas said, "Day and night I am immersed in this ocean of nectar of the holy name, having given up the offense of criticizing the scripture. Whoever aspires for the dust of the feet of Haridas is qualified to wear on his neck the touchstone jewel of the holy name. So that's the end of this chapter. So we have mentioned about blasphemy of scripture. We have summarized a little bit, in this session also, that not reading is also considered blasphemy, because scripture is there for our benefit, Krishna has given it, and Srila Prabhupada has translated it, and if you don't take advantage, if you don't listen to what the Guru and the scripture has to say, that's an offense. Then we'll be influenced by materialistic philosophies, of course, and that will pollute our mind. And that kind of thinking is the one which is making us away from Krishna, stay away from Krishna. So, therefore, it constitutes an offense to not take shelter of these scriptures. And the more we read the scriptures, the more we will not commit this offense. Automatically. So, it is not just enough that it is an offense to blaspheme scriptures. We should understand why it is an offense to blaspheme scriptures, and we should actually take the corrective action of reading the scriptures in order to not commit this offense. So, corrective action should be there. So, alright, I'll stop it here. Hopefully, we can have a class tomorrow as well, Thursday, because if we can finish this Harināma Cintāmaṇi quickly, then that will be better. I will see. I will make the announcement tomorrow and see how my situation is. Alright, so actually I wanted to do on Monday as well, but could not manage. And I think Saturday also could not manage it. Saturday, did we have a class? I think not. Yeah. So I think we should continue, and I hope I can do that. So I'll see any questions or comments on this topic. If you have, you can post them, because towards the end sometimes I see when I close, then there is a question there at the very, very last moment. So I hope if it is a long question, start something, and then at least I know that there is a question coming up. Okay, Rajeshwari Mataji is asking, why do majority of people are not aware of the first principle that there is one Supreme Lord Vishnu? So I think we have already addressed this in this today's session. Because people in the Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda are given by the Lord for those people who are rebellious, because everybody here is more or less rebellious to Krishna. It is only a degree of how much or how little, but everybody is rebellious. That's why more or less we are all rebellious. So to the extent of rebellion, if one is absolutely averse to worshipping Krishna, Krishna is still merciful. Okay, you worship my part and parcel. So of course, that kind of mad worshipper, he does not know that demigod is a part and parcel, but he gets the benefit, small benefit. So because much of the Vedas, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhava Arjuna, Krishna himself says to Arjuna, most of the Vedas, the whole Vedas are mainly dealing with the three modes of material nature. Mostly it's Karma Kanda. Bhakti is very much hidden. That's why Vāsudeva was not happy after writing all the Vedic literature. Finally, when Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was written, yes, then he was happy. That is Amalam Puranam. That is the actual essence of the Vedas. Sarva Vedanta Saram hi. Akhila Shruti Saram. So many times Bhagavatam is mentioned as the essence of all the Vedic literature. So, the rest of the Vedas are mostly dealing with Karma Kanda and a little bit of Jnana Kanda. So, that is why. And people usually are interested in materialistic happiness. Vedavadarata. Those who are at least believing in Vedas, they go for Karma Kanda. And there are many who don't even accept Vedas. So that's why mostly people do not know that there is one Supreme Lord Vishnu. But if we really scrutinizingly study, and this is not our scrutinizingly studying, we have to have the mercy of the spiritual master. If we don't have a mercy of a pure devotee of Krishna, we can read the Vedic literature for millions of years, we will never understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. YOLO conception is craziness. Wisdom Bites by His Grace and the Gopal Prabhu. This is craziness. YOLO. YOLO is, for those who don't know, you only live once. YOLO. YOLO. So, Rinam Kritva Ghritam Pibet Yavat Jivet Sukham Jivet Bhasmi Bhutasya Dehasya Kutah Punaragamano Bhavet. This is Charvak Muni. And after this life, everything is being turned to ashes. So while you are here, just enjoy, beg, borrow, or steal, and get some ghee and enjoy nice food. And when the tongue, then the belly and the genitals all are one straight line. So everything, enjoy life to the fullest. So if you are afraid that by stealing and doing all these things, you will become a rini, you will become a debtor, or you will become sinful and you have to pay for it next life. Don't worry, all that is false. After this thing, everything bhasmi bhutasya dehasya. We become bhasma, we become just ashes. There is no reality to next life. So don't worry about consequences, just hedonism. So this is Charvak. That is YOLO conception today. That is the prime mover in the philosophy of the mind of the people, and that is moving their lives. And also suicide comes from this. Suicide also comes from YOLO conception. They think life is too much to handle. Okay, let me just end it, so that all misery is gone. That is also another stupidity. It is also with the same understanding that YOLO, you only live once. And if I finish this, okay, there is no misery anymore. No. More misery is awaiting for such person. It is punished. So if you understand really what is that, then these things can be solved. Oh, okay. Anytime, why people go into depression? Because YOLO conception. Oh, one life, I only have one life, and that is also screwed up. What to do? Okay, end up this life. So this is how they are thinking. That's why suicides happen. Only one life, everybody has a chance, and then that also is so miserable for me. What is my, what is the point? Just end it. So if I understand that actually I am eternal, and I am facing this situation because of my past karma, I have to just take to devotional service, and in every way in every situation I have to glorify the Lord, and understand that I have to come out of this whole material thing, whether so-called happiness or unhappiness, everything is a nonsense here. So if we understand that, we will not be depressed. It will only strengthen our conviction. When any depressing or reversal happens, it will strengthen our conviction in Krishna. Yes, I was putting too much hope in Māyā, and then now Māyā showed its true form. This is a good thing, because now I am discouraged in enjoying Māyā. Now I am more and more convinced that actually I should go to Krishna. So that is the thing. So that's how the World Suicide Day, all these things are there. They are useless. The real thing is this. You have to understand. Then yes, suicide will stop and everything will stop. If materially they are committing suicide by ending the body, but spiritually everybody is committing suicide by not even taking to Krishna consciousness. Atmaha, it is said. Nirdeham adyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam guru karnadharam mayanukulena nabhasvateritam puman bhavabhyam nataretsa atmaha. Atmaha, killer of his own soul. Everybody is committing suicide. The human body, which can award all benefit in life, is automatically obtained by the laws of nature, although it is a very rare achievement. This human body can be compared to a perfectly constructed boat, having the spiritual master as the captain, and the instructions of the personality of Godhead as favorable winds, impelling it on its course. Considering all these advantages, a human being who does not utilize his human life to cross the ocean of material existence must be considered the killer of his own soul. So this is stupidity. So everybody is committing suicide here with this YOLO conception. Himanshu, okay, he's sharing this. Consequences of having a demoniac mentality. It's a Wisdom Bites, a lecture excerpt from His Grace and the Gopal Prabhu. Rajeshwari, Prabhuji, where will we get the explanation of these 24 gurus? That what signs of the self he learned from each of them. Yeah, actually, all of them, a few chapters it goes, from 11.7 all the way to I think, what? I did not note until which chapter. So the whole thing is mentioned there. Many chapters it goes from that 11.7.33, and then it starts. Actually 11.9.31 there. And then it goes further, one by one. In fact, even 11.8.7, you see it already starts. In 11.7 itself already it starts. It's a few chapters. Okay, let's go to 11th canto, index of the chapters, you see. Lord Krishna instructs Uddhava. 11.8, the story of Pingala the prostitute. So this is already one of the 24 gurus. And in fact, in the same one, there is the honeybee also, the wasp also. What is that called? That insect. What is it called? Moth. How the moth is maddened by the fire, rushes blindly into its flames. All these examples are already given here. So it starts from here, and then the story of Pingala the prostitute comes here, and then the detachment from all this material. Okay, I think 11.9. I think 11.7, 8 and 9. Especially 8 and 9 and all that. So all these 24 gurus are mentioned there. And he doesn't mention what he learns from each of these. So you can see. Himanshu. Prabhu, do Māyādevi also do mistakes, as we saw in the case of Haridas Thakur when Māyā reached to test Haridas Thakur? Is she a demigod? That means she can do mistakes, right, as Indra also do. So Krishna ever punished Māyā. In the case of Chitraketu, she mistakenly cursed him. Also as Sati, she failed to listen to Lord Shiva and self-immolated herself when Daksha offended Shiva. Well, actually these are not real mistakes. It is the plan of the Lord. Like in the case of Haridas Thakur also, by doing that to him, she only glorified him. Now today we can give that example against, we always quote his example against Vishwamitra's example, because he was not a devotee at that time and he fell prey to women, but Haridas Thakur did not. So these situations actually glorify the pure devotee. And even Chitraketu, now it looks like a mistake, and of course it is considered a mistake, where she could not understand the pure devotion of Chitraketu and his friendship with Lord Shiva. But ultimately it is also, these stories, these incidents have made their way into the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That itself is a special arrangement by the Lord, and how that actually glorified Chitraketu. Otherwise, who would know what Chitraketu is? Because he just passed some comment on Lord Shiva and it looked like he was a bit of a rude person or something. But then because of the curse of Parvati, then the real nature of Chitraketu actually came out. So to extract such qualities from the devotees and to glorify them, Krishna sometimes puts them in this kind of situations, and Māyā is his agency to do that. Like the Pandavas have gone through immense difficulties, but that only glorified them, because at no time did they complain to Krishna, what have you done to us? No, they never. So it actually meant for the glorification of the devotee. So therefore Māyā cannot really harm a devotee, and it looks like she is putting so many tests. And for a person who is not advanced, those tests will advance the devotee if he takes it rightly. And for those who are already advanced, it just glorifies their advancement, although the devotee tries to hide it. But these kind of things bring out the glory of the devotee so that everyone can see. Otherwise it is not visible, right? The greatness of a devotee, he always tries to hide and always glorify Krishna. But Krishna, wants to make arrangements to glorify the devotee. And for that purpose, he is seemingly sometimes challenged by Maya. And when he wins over that challenge, because Krishna says, Māmayāvāda prapadyante Māyāmetam tarantite. Now that remains only a word. Of course, it is Krishna's word. But when there is practical demonstration of it, more faith is created. So therefore, to supplement what Krishna has already said in the Bhagavad Gita, the incidents of the Bhagavatam just prove those statements more emphatically. And such incidents inspire us to take up. Oh yes, this actually proves that when one takes shelter of Krishna, one can cross over Māyā. Haridas Thakur was chanting the holy name and he crossed over Māyā. So it is possible. So to give us that confidence, so these are shared and to inspire us spiritually. So she is acting as an agency. Even the so-called mistakes by Brahma, by Indra, of course there are mistakes, and because of Krishna's, like Giridhari, if Indra did not pour the rain, there would be no reason to lift the hill. But because he did that, Krishna is known as Giridhari today, Radha Giridhari. So these are all assistants in the past times. Krishna has already said before he came what he's going to do, and he got the demigods to assist him in his pastimes. So of course they do commit mistakes, but those mistakes are also become a part of the Leela of the Lord. So they are committing of mistakes. We cannot say that she's also committing mistakes, I also commit mistakes, we all are same. It's like Brahma so-called committed mistake of going behind his daughter. But then that is to show that those who are powerful controllers, they are not really affected by their so-called mistakes. So that is explained here. Apparent transgression. So this topic is explained nicely. Shri Shuka Uvacha Dharma Vyatikramo Drishta Ishvaranam cha sahasam tejiyasam na doshaya vahnehe sarvabhujo yatha. Shukadeva Gosvāmī said, the status of powerful controllers, now Maya is also, the status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of morality we may see in them, for they are just like fire which devours everything fed into it and remains unpolluted. Naitat samachare jatu manasapi hyanishvaraha vinashyatyacharan maudhyad yatha rudrobdhijam visham. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. Ishvaranam vachah satyam tathaiva acharitam kvachit tesham yatsva vacho yuktam buddhimam stat samacharet. The statements of the Lord's empowered servants are always true, and the acts they perform are exemplary when consistent with those statements. Therefore, one who is intelligent should carry out their instructions and not imitate them, and not be bewildered by their actions, some apparent transgressive actions. Because ultimately, why they are not tejiyasam nadoshaya vahne sarvabhujo yatha? How come they are able to do mistakes and then they remain unpolluted? Because their mistake serves in some kind of a leela in the Lord, and they are not given those positions as demigods, exceptional positions, for no reason. They have done immense pious activities to get to that position. So they are because they are so-called mistakes also, in this way glorify the Lord and His devotees. So in that way they are, how to say, released from the offenses. Their offenses actually become lessons for others. So in that way they become instructions for others. कुशलाचरितेन ईशां इह स्वार्थो न विद्यते विपर्ययेण वानर्थो nirahankarinam prabho. My dear Prabhu, when these great persons who are free from false ego act piously in this world, they have no selfish motives to fulfill. And even when they act in apparent contradiction to the laws of piety, they are not subject to sinful reactions. See, when these great persons who are free from false ego act piously in this world, they have no selfish motives to fulfill. And even when they act in apparent contradiction to the laws of piety, they are not subject to sinful reactions. So even in those things, they have no selfish motive, because ultimately it glorifies the Lord or it glorifies the devotees when such great personalities do something like that. Or it will serve as a lesson for the others, like Brahma being bewildered. That is a lesson for others. But we are not supposed to condemn Brahma for it. Or we cannot take advantage that, Brahma also fell down, I also can fall down. Or Brahma and I are on the same level. Aham Brahmasmi. So this is the explanation for these things. Okay, so that's the thing. Himanshu, I think Charvak Muni was not aware of bhakti and do not know how much devotees of Krishna enjoys while serving Krishna. Well, that is not an excuse. He did not know bhakti because he did not want to know bhakti. But ultimately, it is our desire, our independence. And if we don't want to Mata smriti jnana apohanam cha. If you want to forget Krishna, Krishna will give us the full facility to forget. And because you wanted to fully enjoy the senses, okay, Krishna said, okay, fine. Since you wanted it, take it. So when people do not know bhakti, it's not that they are shielded from the reactions of the sinful activities they perform. They will still be punished, right? So it's no excuse that he is not aware. Of course he is not aware. That's why he is talking nonsense. If he is aware, he will not talk like an idiot. But he was an idiot because he did not know Krishna consciousness. That's why Krishna says mudha. Anybody who is not a devotee, namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama. They don't surrender. Rascals, fools, idiots. So Divya is asking, Divya Mataji, Prabhuji, when the bad son who has created a hellish home through which an intelligent man gets detached easily, will that bad son get any advantage of being in Krishna consciousness, although he personally doesn't follow it just because he helped his father indirectly? Yes, because of his father's piety, he will be helped. That's like, for example, Srila Prabhupada, his family, his sons were not into bhakti at all. But they are Prabhupada's sons. So, what is the difficulty for them to achieve liberation? Of course, that doesn't mean, just by being a son or a relative like Nityananda Vamsha, I am Nityananda Vamsha, so I am liberated. Of course, they have to take it, but the force of the bhakti of the pure devotee, the Lord is so dear to the pure devotee, or the pure devotee is so dear to the Lord, that the Lord takes care. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, what to speak of just relatives or sons or fathers or whatever. The dog in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya house, that dog is also dear to me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. What to speak of sons and grandsons or what? Dog. You know that, right? Dog. Madhya 15.284 Sarvabhauma grihe dāsa dāsi je kukur sheham priya anya jana rahudur. Everyone in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house is very dear to me, including his maids and servants and even his dog, and what to speak of his relatives. So in any way, if you are connected to a pure devotee, what Krishna says, Lord Narayanam, he says this to Durvasa Muni. Aham bhakta paradhino hi asvatantra evadvija sadhunam grasta hridayo bhaktair bhakta jana priyaha. If somebody is an object of affection for a pure devotee, he becomes an object of affection for Krishna also. Bhaktair bhakta jana priyaha. The devotee is extremely dear to me, you see. What to speak of my devotee, even those who are devotees of my devotee are very dear to me. Narad Muni, Nalakovar Manigriva. They were not even devotee of Narad Muni, or they did not even serve Narad Muni. They actually offended him, honestly. But they became dear to Krishna because somehow or other Narad Muni has shown his concern towards them. He saw, externally he angrily cursed them, but actually he was very much concerned that heavenly birth, so much piety they have done, and rascals, they are wasting their time and they have become so blinded that, they couldn't even see a sadhu. They have completely lost all religious principles. This is not good for them. Let me curse them so that they come to their senses. So actually a devotee, why would a devotee cause harm to anyone? He wouldn't. So the so-called harm inflicted by a devotee is actually a blessing. Just like the Lord's killing and protecting both also liberates the person, similarly the devotee's curse or blessing both liberate the person. So Narad Muni, of course, said that Krishna will come and release you from this. So out of his affection for Narad Muni, the Nalakovar and Manigriva were released and became great devotees and became objects of affection for Krishna. I have nothing to do with you all, Krishna said. That is what he thought when he saw them. I have nothing to do with these two people. Who are they? Devar shirme priyatamo yadi maudhanadatmajao tat tatha sadhayishyami yad geetam tan mahatmanam. Although these two young men are the sons of the very rich Kuvera, and I have nothing to do with them. Devarshi Narada is my very dear and affectionate devotee, and therefore because he wanted me to come face to face with them, I must do so for their deliverance. Because I am his servant. I am Narada's servant. This is how, they will be helped. Hiranyakashipu was helped, of all people, because Prahlad was a devotee. So this pranam punati sakulam natu bhurimana. That is the effect of devotee. Pranam punati sakulam natu bhurimana. Such a devotee is better than such a brahmana who is not a devotee, but a brahmana. Because a devotee can purify his whole family. Punati means to purify. Pranam punati sakulam. He purifies himself and he purifies sakulam. Kulam means family, dynasty. So, whereas, he devotee can purify his whole family, natu bhurimana. So, the brahmana, he cannot even purify himself. The devotee is such a purifying effect. And not only to his relatives, but also to whomever he speaks, whomever he somehow or other touch. Prabhupada said, whoever touches my book, even if he doesn't read, touches my book, the piety is created in him already. That much if you come in contact with the pure devotee. If somebody touches his book, Prabhupada said, if somebody touches my book, he will gain piety. Just imagine how much whoever comes in contact with the devotee. You see, if they have touched the book means they have touched the mercy of Prabhupada. So somehow or other, if somehow, just like Nalakovar and Manigriva touched the mercy of Narad Muni. So in somehow or other, if you come in contact with the pure devotee, he will be purified. Pramod Pandey, Parshuram Prabhu, asking Arjuna worshipped demigod Shiva, Indra, Agni for getting Divyastra. Guided by Krishna, tells us that devotees can approach demigods for benediction. How to understand it, Prabhu? Yes, you can approach the demigods when you are ordered by Krishna to do so. Just like you are allowed to lie when Krishna asks you to do so. But Yudhishthira Maharaj did not lie, and so he was punished a little for his so-called truthfulness. He was punished for his truthfulness. So what is piety, what is impiety? That is dictated by Krishna. And in fact, there is a nice verse in the Bhagavatam. I think it's about the Rajasuya Yajna performed by Yudhishthira Maharaj. Let me see if I can. Anyway, the point is that I don't know where to find that, but you see this. The point I was trying to make, it is somewhere in I think 70th chapter or 71 or 72 chapter or somewhere. Maybe if somebody finds, I can maybe share it. Yudhishthira Maharaj, why he had to do Rajasuya sacrifice? It is something karma kanda thing. But the explanation is that Yudhishthira Maharaj was least interested in Rajasuya Yajna for karma kanda thing. But he did that so that he can invite all the demigods, invite all the human beings and establish that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. Although it looked like a Rajasuya Yajna karma kanda, but actually his real motive was to present that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the assembly of the demigod, he invited the demigods also. And the demigods also attended. And the people of this world also attended. But the whole point was to glorify Krishna. So, even the gopis, they worshipped Katyayani. They say, Patim me kurte namaha. Nanda Gopasutam Devi, Patim me kurte namaha. They say, please make Krishna our husband. They prayed for a husband. Usually, girls do that. They do Katyayani Vrata and worship Lord Shiva also for a good husband. So they also did that, gopis, but they did it for Krishna. So that is allowed. So to ask the demigods for something to worship Krishna, that is allowed. But of course, since we are not on the level of Arjuna, we will get distracted by demigod worship and go somewhere else. So that's why we should not worship for any material gain. But if we at all somehow or other pass by or hear about it, we can always pray for that blessing that we can become a devotee of Krishna. That we can do. That is perfectly Vaishnava way of honoring the demigods and seeking their blessings. Anyone who is superior, devotee, we will have to seek their blessings, right? Definitely they are very superior devotees. They are serving very responsible service they have. So we can always seek their blessings in all humility to become a devotee. So that's different. As you said, if Indra didn't cause rain, Krishna wouldn't have lifted Govardhan. So in the spiritual world, Indra is not there. So is Krishna not known as Giridhari there? Names like Madhusudan or other names gotten by killing enemies, so do they exist only in the material world and not spiritual because there are no demons there? No, they exist in the spiritual world. Because although the Lord performs these leelas with respect to this material world, once he performs leela here, then he performs the same leela in other material world. So, another universe. So it's still Nitya leela. And in the spiritual world, for them they don't see whether it's material or spiritual. He's performing his leela, that's it. Whether it's material or spiritual, so his name is always there. Madhusudan and all these things are all eternal names. So whatever the Lord does, leela is eternal leela. But in the spiritual world, he is not known by such names as Paramatma. Because there is no... He is known by his leelas, by his leelas, yes, by his activities and by his relationship with his devotees. Prahlada Hlada Daine. So he is the one who gives pleasure to Prahlada. So that is a name with respect to a devotee. Some with respect to demons. He killed a demon. Murari, Madhusudana, like that. So all these are eternal names. Giridhari also. Now, of course, in this case, he lifted the Govardhan hill against Indra and to protect the Vrindavan Vasis. We have an explanation of an incident of Varaha lifting the earth from the Garbhodaka ocean. So, in one instance, it was done because of Hiranyaksha, but there was another instance where the earth just went out of orbit for some other reason, and it was not the demon Hiranyaksha. And he still lifted the earth in the Varaha Rupa. So, sometimes the cause is this, sometimes the cause may be something else, but the lifting of Govardhan hill always happens. What is the cause of that seeming cause? That may differ. Now, this is my speculation. But seeing from the example of Varaha, we can understand that the Lord's Leela of lifting the earth is there, but for which reason? That there have been two different reasons. So, those things might happen. So, there's a precedence of such a possibility. That much I can say. So, these are all eternal Leelas, nevertheless. Prahlad Maharaj's son Virochan was misguided by Shukracharya. How to understand that 21 generations are uplifted by the Lord? I don't know how much misguided was he by Shukracharya. Not much is mentioned about Virochana. But I don't know how much he is misguided. He is the son of Prahlad and father of Bali. I mean, double. His son is a Mahajan, father is a Mahajan. I mean, to have that kind of family, what can we say about them? Of course, he is uplifted by the Lord. 1072.4 purport explained by Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Okay, good. This is about the Rajasuya sacrifice. So 1072.4. Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur similarly explains King Yudhishthira's statement. We feel no great urgency to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice, nor do we have any personal interest, since we are already seeing your lotus feet and by your boundless mercy have been taken into your personal association. But in this world, there are some whose hearts are contaminated and who thus think you are not the Supreme Personality of Godhead but an ordinary man, or else they find fault with you and even criticize you. This is an arrow piercing our hearts. Therefore, to extract this arrow from our heart, we must call to this place on the pretext of the Rajasuya sacrifice such great people as Brahma, Rudra and other wise brahmacharis and demigods who reside in each of the 14 planetary systems. When such an exalted congregation has assembled, it will be incumbent upon them to first arrange for the Agra Puja or the first worship of the most worthy person present. So that is the procedure in the Rajasuya sacrifice. Whoever is the most senior person in that assembly, he should be worshipped, Agra Puja. And when they are directly shown that you, Lord Krishna, are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the arrow piercing our heart will be removed. Look at how the pure devotee takes to this. Thank you for that pointer. I'm glad you found that, because I did not know where. So, but I read this. So, you see how the pure devotees have a totally different interest when they do this. So that's why, because we cannot understand their real intentions, we cannot really imitate them without understanding the actual import of those work of the. Oh, Yudhishthira Maharaj did Rajasuya, I will also do Rajasuya. Hare, can you invite even one demigod? Forget demigod, you cannot even invite your city mayor to your Rajasuya Yajna. What kind of nonsense Rajasuya Yajna is that? And where are the mantras, where are the ghee, where are the. Everything is a failure. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj had such influence. He could invite from the 14 planetary systems. I mean, come on. And he established Krishna as supreme, and he couldn't see that the Lord was not glorified by some classes of people, even in some higher planetary systems. Like we know, Janaloka, there was a big debate whether who is supreme, and then Bhrigu Maharaj had to undergo great risks in order to prove that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. I mean, Vishnu. So, it hurts the devotee that the Lord is not glorified. So he sets out to glorify the Lord. And everybody must know, Agrapuja, let the Lord be worshipped in the grandest way in front of the biggest demigods of the universe. And undoubtedly everybody has to accept Krishna as the supreme. So that's what the devotee wants. He wants to opulently worship Krishna so that there's no comparison. So that kind of, those are the intentions of pure devotees. So you have to understand that. Even Duryodhana imitated Yudhishthira Maharaj by doing Rajasuya Yajna. Give more context, because otherwise I cannot understand. So I think those are the points and questions. Thank you for attending, and we will meet again, hopefully tomorrow. So, Harināma Cintāmaṇi ki jai, Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Haridas Thakur ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Harināma Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.